Welcome to Glitches to Gold, a weekly podcast birthed from my obsession with living a successful life. It began with chasing an Olympic dream and resulted in a 30-year obsession explored through sport, neuroscience, psychology, energetics, quantum mechanics, religion, art, and beauty. Sometimes chasing and achieving external markers, and at others experiencing the absolute opposite. Yet both taught me the same undeniable truth, and I'm here to share what I have discovered in the journey of mastering the alchemy of life, turning glitches to gold and success into overflow. If you like the podcast, share the love, like, rate, and subscribe on your favourite platform. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Glitches to Gold. I'm Jo Warwick, and I'm so pleased that you're joining me. So what are we discussing today? It's interesting that today I was talking about on my Instagram, I was talking about taking a higher perspective and taking space. And I was doing that, really focusing into a much more abundant frequency, and ended up recording an entire masterclass. So I found myself then thinking, well, what am I going to be talking about? Because I recorded a riff for Unlimited all about stepping into your abundance and getting in your own lane. And then I was recording for the Braver Collective, and I dropped in a channeled message there with a great analogy. And then, as I said, I recorded this masterclass, which I will be sharing with you. So if you're interested, oh my gosh, I downloaded it today. Literally, it's a massive expose masterclass all about the biggest lie that is controlling the collective, controlling every aspect of your life. And until you see it, you won't step out of being the 99% and into the 1% who actually receive their abundance. They receive 100 times more than they could imagine. It's that shift that when you make that, that's when everything changes. So I recorded that. So if you're interested, of course, as ever, head on over to glitchestogold.com or see the link in the show notes. So what did it leave me thinking about today? Well, last week's episode was all about celebrating your wins. And funnily enough, it came up for me as I thought about how successful the VIP day had been in Dublin, and holy moly, it was truly magnificent. It was wonderful. I'd laid tracks for it in advance. I'd sent up prayers, I had set intentions, I'd been very clear about the energy. Dublin was intense and a lot of energy, amazing place, had a wonderful time. But on the day, we truly did have quite a very special time. We changed the frequency of the restaurant. We held a very abundant frequency. We went to very deep level work and highlighted a very core story, which often, like this masterclass, we don't realize that we can be doing a multitude of things, looking at stuff, going, is this the problem? Is this the problem? Is this the problem? If I just solve this problem over here, and it comes down to one story. And one of the things that came up in that VIP day was we were talking about perfectionism. And actually through the process of the week, because doing something so big, so intense, so transformative on such a massive frequency, for her and for myself, of course, it brought stuff up. And then I had to go through a process. And one of the things that came up for myself after that was also about perfectionism. And I was realizing that I don't do perfectionism in person. I don't have a problem with who I am when I'm doing my work because I'm so aligned to myself. And also when I'm doing the podcast, I don't have that because I'm so aligned with myself. But I could feel the pressure before the event of about what should I wear and is that going to matter? And I was like, what? None of that matters. But I also feel it on social media. That's always a trigger. And I ended up doing a very real and raw kind of live on social media where I talked about sitting in that, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. You know, here it is. It's going to come through me because I'm not going to hold on to that perfectionism. So there's noticing each story that was coming up was, and everything that I've created today is really bringing in this kind of root issue, this root story, root cause. And the masterclass talks about a core root story for everybody. But I wanted to talk about this perfectionism one, which is a kind of level up. It's a response to the core story that controls the collective. And it's a response of survival. And it can hold us back from being all that we want to be. And it rears its head in the oddest ways. So it's not about I have to look perfect, although I do believe that used to be around a lot. I know it was for me, expecting things from my body as a girl growing up. But I think it's a lot more subtle than that, of the idea that you have to get it right. You got to get it right every time. And it stops us from being bolder and braver in our lives, with our money. And funny enough, I was sitting here just looking at the stats for the podcast. We are literally counting down to the last few episodes before the first 100 episode, which is such a big, wonderful celebration. And I was noticing that the most successful episode this year was the braver becoming the hero of your life in 2026. And rightly so, because this is the year still of the fire horse, of the new earth, of the upgraded frequency. You could probably feel the push, the squeeze, the upgrades. It's all happening. And again, I repeat what I said in that episode, which is it all comes down to your choice of this sovereignty about who you're going to be. Are you going to be joining the collective, or are you going to now step into your own sovereign abundant frequency, your freedom frequency? Which seems to be a really big theme of what is coming through me to speak about. Whether that's in the masterclass, whether that's the lives that I've done, whether that's the powerful riffs that happen inside of Unlimited, we are really talking about how do I own my sovereign frequency, my freedom frequency, my abundant frequency. Instead of this thing of like looking at constantly like, can I tweak this and alter this? And if I just do this right thing, as I said on the live, if I could just say the right words, the right hook, you'll listen to me. And anytime we're in that frequency, and it is frequency, it's a belief, it's a psychological, energetic belief that runs through your system, and it creates conflict. What frequency that you're emanating out of you should be clear and running clearly, free flowing through you. Should be like driving your car, all wheels should be going in the same direction. And if they're not, then the energy is creating a conflict, which means that the universe then gets a conflicted frequency. It brings back the confliction and it brings back crumbs and it can't give you what you want. And so when we step into our sovereign frequency, when we're owning the self, which you'll have heard me talk about a few times, which is the self and the not self from human design, when we really step into the self and what that really means, we come into this sovereign frequency and it makes things so much easier. So much easier. Because one of the things that I notice, all of these core stories, these drivers like perfectionism, is that they are all a result of making it really fucking hard. So that you spend time on chasing, worrying, thinking, if I just alter this thing, then I will be loved, I will be liked, but we'll blame it onto our parents and we'll blame it onto our childhood and we'll blame it onto the partner and all of that. But again, we could do that. We can waste time trying to figure all of that out, but that figuring it all out is still part of that perfectionism and part of that core story, that one belief, what I call the biggest lie ever told. I think in describing the masterclass, it is the greatest lie the devil has ever succeeded at. It really is controlling the masses. And it has a purpose. It's doing it for a reason. It's designed for that, so that we're wasting our energy. But now we are not in that place where we can do that anymore. There is a choice. There is a cosmic choice, an energetic choice. We have a choice where we're going to be and what we're going to do. And if you're somebody who's in my world and drawn to my frequency, drawn to my words, drawn to what I do, you are somebody who is wanting to step out of that bullshit. You're no longer prepared to waste your precious time, your amazing divine creative energy on trying to figure out something you were never meant to figure out. Ever meant to figure out. You were just meant to step out of it. And so isn't it interesting that the most popular episode on here, and I looked today, I think had like 80,000 downloads, which is incredible, but the most popular episode is all about being braver and being the hero. It's the thing that we desire, to be the hero, the heroine, to be the leader. We want to be in our sovereign self. We want to be in our frequency. We want to lead. And yet, as I was with a client last night, we talked on one subject and it was so easy for her to come back into her sovereign state, so easy to her to expand back into her unlimited frequency. it was easy on this one subject, was so good. And then when we had to come to a deeper subject that was bringing this up, it was getting in the way, a deeper core story. It was, she could understand it, but she was like, oh, but I want to justify, I want to blame everybody. And she got there, and I mean, it was still super fast. I mean, what had taken 10 minutes for the first thing took 20 minutes, half an hour. But we changed an entire frequency belief system she's held for 50 years. Yeah. So it's still fast, but even she was noticing, God, I just want to hold on to that victim-y, it's somebody else's responsibility, not mine, which keeps us apart from our power, because by joining in with the collective, we've kept safe. We think we've kept safe. In fact, all the ideas of being good and being perfect and doing the right things, and if everybody likes me, it's very much that limited state of I'm a caveman in the cave, that there's not enough food for us. We're not in that frequency, that world anymore. There's never been so much abundance available. And yet the mindset, the drivers, the control it's still there. And whilst we hold a position of going, well, it's the government's fault and rich people just get richer and it's their fault, and it's somebody else over there, the other, it's their fault. We're holding ourselves apart from this sovereign freedom, because everything is available to you now. It's all available, but it's not available if you're also falling into playing the patterns of, oh, it's, I've been doing the manifesting things and I've worked really, really hard at it, and I've been trying and I've been journaling and I've been doing all the things, and it's still not landing because you're still in a frequency of trying to be perfect about it and still believing you have to get just the right thing right. If I find that one piece, that's just going to be right. And oh my God, I know this story. Yeah, I know this pattern. Particularly as a projector, I just didn't fit. I wasn't born to fit. I wasn't born for what was here before, and so I didn't fit, and I also certainly didn't understand it. In fact, I wasted far too much time trying to understand the collective, the matrix, when I wasn't actually born in it. So I actually put myself into it instead of staying where I was, because I was so afraid of being alone and being different from my parents. But I could see it all. I could see what was the other side. I could live in the other side. And I could never understand, as I talked about today in Unlimited and stuff, I talked about when you go traveling, I learned first that traveling allowed me to step into my sovereign state. And I would go off and I'd feel so happy. And I was just met by all these people around the world who loved me and liked me. And I was having a great time and a great sex life. And life was great. And money would come. And I was having such a wonderful and ridiculous things. One day I'd be with the New Zealand All Blacks, the rugby team. And the next thing I'd be invited to a red carpet do. And then suddenly I'd find myself, I was in all the right places at all the right times. Yeah, ridiculously wonderful things. But I would then come back from my travelling and I couldn't understand when I was at home why it would all change again, because I fell into believing I had to do it right so that I would be the home, either as my parents or what I knew in my head as ideal of home. I fell into trying to be perfect again, trying to do the right thing, be the good girl, which I wasn't doing any of that. And I was having an incredible time being me, taking up space and having a wonderful time travelling. It took me a long time to realise that the person who was changing was me, always me. It took a long time because it was giving myself permission, and I had to learn that underneath it was always about ownership of this core story, and it can be such a driver. And one thing of the perfectionism was like, yeah, this is the core story, but now I even know what the even deeper core story. I didn't, which is what I talk about in the masterclass, because it's so ingrained in all of us to be part of the matrix, to be part of the collective, that we don't even know what's doing it. And people aren't actually talking about it. They say it in ways, and we all kind of know it. If you listen to the masterclass, you'll go, oh, fuck, yes. Because you can feel it. But nobody says it. Nobody's speaking about it. You hear words trickled around, but nobody's really speaking about it, because the truth is 99% of people are still in that story. And so they understand about perfectionism, and they may have played it out in toxic relationships, or they may have played it out with no money. And I talk about it and have talked about it over my life in different ways, from love affairs to money to business. I particularly love talking about it in money. But the main thing is it's much deeper than that, because it's not about the subject of your life. It's about when your frequency goes off. And it's like the signal of a radio. I always love it when Abraham Hicks talks about tuning your radio. But even they don't talk about the fact it's like your radio has gone off. You literally turn the frequency off because you've joined in with the collective frequency. So you have this manifesting frequency, this freedom frequency, this sovereign frequency that is yours, and it manifests what you want. And then you have this frequency that is the collective frequency, and there is a moment when you choose, and you will clearly see when you're doing it and not doing it, which frequency you're in. So you get the collective frequency, which underpins with this story, that's, you know, the belief, etc., that's inside of that masterclass. And the perfectionism is an outcome of it. It's a survival mechanism. So anywhere we think we're in perfectionism, it's actually a survival mechanism. It was something that was impregnated or taken on board as a way to survive. Yeah, and it worked. So you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. Our choice as we mature psychologically, mentally, spiritually, as we're evolving as a humanity and collective, it's now this moment of going, right, we all say, oh, I want more money, and I want to be a millionaire, and I want to have a successful business, and I want to do this and this, yeah? And yet, the way that we're doing it is underpinned in this one choice. And the more that we know this choice factor between the not self and the self, and the stories that are driving it, it's the moment everything changes, because you can't hide from it. And that's why today felt like going, oh my God, I just want to invite you in to look behind the curtain. Are you willing to look behind the curtain and become the 1%? The 1% are told to us as being evil and bad. Oh, you're so evil. They're so successful. They're so doing, they're bad people, because they stepped out of the collective. They got out of the crab pot. Do you want to stay in the crab pot? I've never wanted to be in the crab pot, and yet I seem to have decided to get in it, and I wasn't in it in the first place. So I'm inviting you to say, hey, come out of the crab pot. Come out. I know that I can fall back into the collective and the crab pot through social media. When I find myself thinking, oh, I need to say the right thing and do the right thing so the right people can find me, you know? And it's like, why? When I know this is not how this works. I've done it again. I've fallen into the collective frequency. And we can all do it. Whether it's in your business, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your home life, yeah? We fall into not just someone else's frequency, but a mass frequency that has a very key story to it. Very key story. And once you're out of it, everything becomes expansive. And you know it. You know this expansive feeling and beyond that, because anything that you believe where you think, oh my God, I've expanded. Actually, my client yesterday said to me, she said, Jo, when we first did the exercise inside of Unlimited, I could feel myself expanding. She talked about how she could feel herself being bigger than the room, bigger than the garden, bigger than the village, bigger than the space, bigger than her town. She was like, oh, I could feel it. It was amazing. And then yesterday she said to me, do you know what? I thought that was really big. And she said, now when I do it, it's so fast. I'm bigger than the earth. And I can see earth as this tiny thing. And she said, I feel like the universe. And I'm like, yep. But she couldn't even comprehend that, the first point. And when you tap into that frequency to realize that you're in the quantum field and that you're bigger than anything, yeah, for some people that's going to freak the fuck out. But actually, once you get used to being unlimited, the power is entirely yours. And that's the scariest thing of all, which holds 99% of people to be in the mass, because they're afraid of their own power. They're afraid of the choice. And you'll often hear me talk about it. It's the buffet. It's the buffet of life. It's the buffet of what you want. So there's no point, as manifesting has become more mainstream and understanding, that there's no point saying, oh, I'm going to do all these manifesting exercises. To be honest, they make it so fucking hard, so difficult, when it really isn't. You were made to manifest. You are manifesting. You already are. But the choice is how simply we can make it. You know, we get to the core story, we get to understand, remove the thing that's in the way, we get to choose our not self and self, we get to drive. We get to drive. It's like driving a car. And driving it aligned with your human design, your system, your way your energy works. And as most of you are generators, that will all be about how are you burning your energy and where are you projecting it to? Do you want to have fun? Are you projecting it towards things that excite you and keep you expansive and being fed, or are you making choices that feel draining and horrid? Now that people are so much more aware about self-love and things like that, but what they don't realize is that these core stories, these hidden patterns, raise their heads in different factors. So we can break free of stories and these core patterns in certain areas of our life where we think, gosh, I'm super flying in that area. I feel really, really good. I feel great. And then they're flying and then they look at a different area of their life and it's like so stark. That could be like maybe their love life is going really well and suddenly they've got no money. The other thing that can happen is that they've given themselves permission slips to expand to a certain level, but they can't go any further than that. So the permission slip is, I can allow myself to be free-flowing and expansive and abundant, and I can increase my income. Maybe it's the good old social media first 10K months, yay! That kind of thing of going, well, I'm going to get to the 10K month. And they allow themselves to do that, but they can't get beyond it. They can't get beyond it to 20K or 30K. They can't manifest 50K in a week. They can't do the things that they think they want, or even having consistent income, because they have a permission slip that says, it has to be this much, but now I have a hidden barrier. And again, that comes from this core story, because it's the hidden barrier that is always at the root. And when we get to the root, everything changes. And that's what we were doing on the VIP day, was we were looking at a root story. And we got to a point of actually laughing at it, just laughing at, oh my God, this thing has infested in every aspect of unconscious decisions about how money was coming in, how money was going out, choices she was making for how she was living, things that she was doing, believing she didn't have enough. And yet that wasn't the case at all. Yeah, absolute opposite. But the core story was running. And that's the power of it. It's the incredible power of it. And so this perfectionism, we end up chasing, we end up trying to get it right, we end up wanting to say the right thing and not fucking it up, and we hold our energy back, when in fact the most powerful resource that we have is our energy. It's the thing that creates everything that exists. We are the extension of creation, and therefore anything we want to have, anything we want to do, everything that we're saying, we're creating it with our positive and negative. Yeah, by holding our energy back, we stop the flow and then wonder why we're not receiving more. So it's powerful, so powerful. So if this is speaking to you, you've got two options. Of course, super option, go to grab the free Hidden Patterns ebook that you can go grab and go check that out. You can grab that again, glitches2gold.com. Just head over. You will find everything there. And as I said, the masterclass, I can't believe I've recorded this, but it was meant to come through me, and I'm so pleased to be able to offer that. So go to glitches2gold.com. You can always sign up, by the way. If you scroll down, there is a newsletter thing. You can sign up if you want to join my newsletter, or you want to subscribe to the podcast through the website. You can do that too. Otherwise, of course, always make sure to like, love, subscribe to this beautiful podcast. Share the love. And I am sitting here at the end of this celebration of what has been an incredible week since I last recorded. Dublin was amazing. VIP day, first one, was absolutely fantastic. I also really want to say I love all of you for listening to this. Share it, love it. I really appreciate having you in my world. I loved it when I recently met somebody who actually, at an event, it was very spontaneous. I was speaking at a live event. So unexpected, that's the word. When I was the main speaker, and this woman came up to me afterwards and said, I couldn't believe it was you, that you were speaking. Oh my God, I listened to your podcast. And I was so touched, so touched. So always say hi. Come say hi on @thejowarwick on Instagram. And come and join the newsletter, because you get much more behind the scenes. But most importantly, you got the choice with the masterclass, the ebook, which the hidden patterns will blow your mind. And of course, there is Unlimited, which is this very beautiful space. And as we've ended the first month in there, there's now 10 pieces of life transforming riffs and exercises that will just blow your mind and alter your life, as it has to the women inside of there. You will raise your tolerance levels and come into your sovereignty. Now, if you want to check that out, there is a 3-day trial. It's free. You can taste it and test it and see whether you like the frequency. But I can tell you, once in, you won't leave. You won't want to leave. So much love to you. I am loving you. I am appreciating you. And I will see you next time